Come, let us explore the emptiness mistake that keeps most meditators stuck. We'll begin with a bit of review. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, but not in the fun, tingly way. That 90% could be described by those who are under the thrall of patriarchy or yang. They tend to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. These are the people who say enlightenment is very difficult and takes a very long time and it's only for special people. Fortunately, the Buddha was not one of them. He taught the opposite. He taught that enlightenment is very easy and it's for everybody. What if enlightenment was nothing more than mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path? Mastery is nothing special. It just means we've gotten so good at a skill that we tend to practice that skill spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. One of the cool things about the Eightfold Path is that it's imbalanced. The two most powerful aspects of the seventh and eighth, mindfulness and meditation, or in this case, watching and resting. Simply by sitting and breathing and watching and resting about once every 12 hours or so, we cannot help but experience right view. We cannot help but, as we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation cannot help but feel at least a little bit impermanent. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation cannot help but feel a little bit less defining. And thirdly, as we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel at least a little bit less graspable. How non-graspable could it feel? It could feel as, oopsie, let's go over here. It could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. It would seem that a simile is only as effective as it is relatable. Therefore, we must ask the question, what? What is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand? And so whether we were discussing no self or emptiness, they are just figures of speech, shorthand, if you will, for us to symbolically and therefore viscerally understand something. These are visceral and symbolic ways to express that which is latent during each relaxing exhalation. Those who are rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel love fairy tales. They love myths, especially when the telling of these myths disempowers others, makes them seem much more powerful and wise and important than they really are. One of those myths is that once someone has truly mastered emptiness, they never suffer. They never see ugliness. They never hear discord. They never feel pain. They never taste something yucky. They never smell anything unpleasant. They never experience unpleasant, oh gosh, emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, or imaginings. But that is what we call malarkey. The first enlightenment factor is mindfulness. The seventh fold of the eightfold path is mindfulness. Without mindfulness, there is no enlightenment. So a fully enlightened Buddha is going to still experience both ugliness and beauty, both discord and harmony, both pleasure and pain, both deliciousness and disgust, both fragrance and foulness. They're experiencing the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. All of them. From the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the convenient to the arduous, from the glorious to the grotesque. One moment. This is page, oh, where are my glasses? Is this page 49? Okay, page 49. Need to do an edit after class. Whoops, that was lame. But remember, anybody who cooperates, anybody who sits and breathes and feels and rests at least once every 12 hours will be able to physically and viscerally experience the figurative emptiness of whatever they perceive fleetingly during each exhalation. Well, if it's not permanent, then what's the benefit? Simple. It keeps us from playing the fool. It keeps our choices and our utterances and our deeds from 99% of the time being controlled by our survival mechanisms. What are our survival mechanisms? That which drive us to ask, hey, that thing over there, should I fuck it? Should I feed on it? Should I fight it? Should I flee from it? Should I faint before it? Should I fawn over it? These 5 F's are all about survival, and they're to be used occasionally. When they are used constantly, when they define our identity, our choices, utterances, and deeds, 99% of the time, they detract from life. But when we're able to viscerally perceive the stimuli around us, then relax and release it, then instead our choices, utterances, and deeds are influenced by love's deeply centered spontaneity, because frequently and regularly cooperating with both facets of our autonomic nervous system not only calms the anxiety and aggression of our amygdala, but it gently stimulates our anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. And you see, my friends, empathy, whether you call it empathy, whether you call it love, or whether you call it compassion, it comprises 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. So yeah, that's pretty important. Well, that's lame. I apologize if I've deprived you of a thoroughly meaningful visual aid experience. Let me see if I can't fix that quickly. The more we passively cooperate with the sympathetic and parasympathetic facets of our autonomic nervous system, the more we calm the anxiety and aggression of our amygdala, the more we gently stimulate the empathy of our anterior cingulate gyrus. Well, let's see. Let's go over here and press 2. That's not good. Let's hit this button right here. Well, technically, this has been less than stellar. I think the best thing to do is to move forward. I guess I should tap button number 3. This is the Dzogchen Sende Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For multiple decades, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you wouldn't have to. Welcome, my friends, let's try this again. It is Rey Skywalker Sunday evening. Come, let us meditate. Oopsie. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. It's about a quarter after the hour. Let's begin our first third of this evening's meditation. What is the essence of mindfulness? To silently and mentally recite the verb watch every time we passively notice air enter our nostrils. What is the essence of meditation? To silently and mentally recite the verb rest each time we passively notice air exit our nostrils. Watching on our inhalation, resting during our exhalation is one solitary round. A useful preliminary practice is for us to gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce at our crown. An easy way to do that is for us to make use of the Pasadi Mudra, or meditation gesture. It's as easy as using the tip of our left index finger to support our right index finger, palms up in our lap. So as I mentioned, this is great to keep track of our first solitary round of watch and rest. How are we going to keep track of our first dozen rounds? Simple. We begin by drawing our attention to our right hand. Every time we silently and mentally recite the verb watch during our inhalation, we advance our right thumb across our fingers. During the first inhalation, we touch our tip of our right thumb to our right little finger's lower set of creases. And by the time we've made it to our 12th inhalation, we're touching the tip of our right thumb to the right index finger's higher set of creases. Together as a team, let us practice watching and resting, sitting and breathing, and watching and resting right now. To keep track of our next solitary round, we draw our attention to our left hand and place the tip of our right thumb upon let's try this again. Place the tip of our left thumb upon our left little finger's lower set of creases. To keep track of our next set of watching and resting, we return to our right hand. So, to keep track of our next solitary round, we advance our left thumb. And now that you have the basic idea, the basic gist of how to count single sets and dozen sets, let us rest our hands palms up in our lap. Thank you for the love. So now let's progress to our second third of this evening's meditation. We've counted 13 sets of 13 inhalations each. Now let's gather an additional collection of 13 sets of 13 inhalations each. Doing that is as simple as sliding the tip of our left index finger up the back of our right index finger until we come to the second knuckle of that right index finger. And then our hands are palms up in our lap. Additionally, we use this posture, this second variation of Pasadi Mudra, to keep track of our first of 13 solitary repetitions of watching and resting, wherein we silently and mentally recite the verb watch as we passively notice air enter our nostrils. And we silently and mentally recite the verb rest as we passively notice air exit our nostrils. To keep track of our next dozen rounds of watch and rest, we shall turn our attention to our right hand. And we shall begin, every time we inhale, we shall advance our right thumb, beginning with the right little finger's lower set of creases and concluding with the right index finger's higher set of creases. Together, let us practice right now. We now proceed to keep track of our next solitary round. We do that using our left hand. And then we continue with our next dozen rounds. We now progress to our next solitary round. Let's switch gears to our final third of this evening's meditation. We switch from white to teal and from watch to feel. Forgive the rhyme. So we're going to practice Sati Mudra, or mindfulness gesture. Let us keep track of our first solitary repetition of feel, rest. Allow me to elaborate. Every time we passively feel our chest swell with breath, we silently and mentally recite the verb feel. Every time we passively notice our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale, we silently and mentally recite the verb rest. So to keep track of our first solitary repetition of feel rest, we touch the tip of our left middle finger to the lower knuckle of our right middle finger, palms up in our lap. To keep track of our next dozen rounds, the next dozen inhalations, we count upon the creases of our right hand, beginning with the lower set of creases of our right little finger, concluding with the higher set of creases of our right index finger. To keep track of our next solitary repetition, we turn our attention to our left hand, place the tip of our left thumb on the lower set of creases of our left little finger. Now we count our next dozen inhalations. To keep track of our next solitary inhalation, we advance our left thumb. And now that you get the basic idea of how we count solitary inhalations as well as dozen inhalations, let's rest our hands palms up in our lap. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. For Meditate Like a Jedi is made possible thanks to the generosity of viewers just like you. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's dawn practice of Meditate Like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.